Hey guys, it's Lena here and I'm back with another video. This video is going to be more of an emotional one, more of a video about me and my life. So sorry if you hear any noise in the background. There is some construction stuff going outside my window, so I'm going to try to speak loud enough so you guys can hear me. If the noise gets too much, I'm so sorry. Anyways, this video, as you can tell by the title, it's called How I Live My Life Without a Dad. Now, this subject is very heartbreaking for me. I know there are a lot of other people who understand where I'm coming from, and I'm actually making this video more for myself than I am for you guys, just to let all of this out. But I'm hoping that it does help you guys, whomever it is, if you didn't live without a father either. Now, to give you a little backstory on the relationship I have with my dad, for one, I'm not close with my father whatsoever. I met my dad, well, from what I was told, I do not remember meeting my father for the first time. I was told that I met my dad when I was 7. I do not remember that whatsoever, but it's what I was told, so I don't know. But apparently, my dad left when I was a baby. My brother was 2 at the time, I believe, when he left. So I was a baby, he was 2. And my mom was left to take care of us on her own. Once again, excuse the noise outside. So like I said, I met my dad when I was 7. That's what I was told. I do not remember it. I don't have any recollection of it whatsoever. But I do remember from the ages of 7 to 9, I did go out with my dad. My dad would come and pick up my brother and I to go to like Chuck E. Cheese or Coney Island, or we had this thing where we loved going to IKEA because there was a specific IKEA that my dad went to that had a playground in it, so we used to love going. That's what I can remember from being around him. Things started to get very rocky once I hit the age of 9. My dad tends to have this thing where he would break promises a lot. He would promise, to see us on our birthdays, or he would promise to call us, but he never would. Those things weren't a big priority to him. And at the age of 9, I realized that I wasn't too big of a priority to him either. So, my brother, he's different from most people, as people would say. I don't believe he is, but my brother does have Down syndrome. And not to be mean or anything like this, but I've always thought my dad looked at my brother differently because of that. That's my father's first and only son, his first child. And I thought for a very long time that he had something against my brother, so I thought if he had something against him, he had something against me. But for a really long time, I couldn't come to terms with believing that my dad was a good guy. He would constantly, like I said, break promises. He never called on our birthdays. He never spent holidays with us. We never got to spend holidays with him. I never knew where he lived specifically. I had no idea where. I never went to his house. I never visited him or anything like that. It was extremely difficult dealing with that because I knew, in a way, he kind of treated my brother differently than my sister and I. But he also treated me differently from my sister. Since my sister is the youngest out of the 3 of us, she pretty much got to grow up with my dad. She never understood the life that I had to live without a father, and it was really hard. Because of that, my sister and I had a very, very tough and rocky emotional relationship. We never saw eye to eye. We were never able to connect with each other on an emotional basis, because the way she was raised was different from the way that I was raised. She grew up with my dad and I grew up with my mother. By the age of 9, I told myself that I did not want to continue to be lied to. I didn't want to continue to have my heart broken. I didn't want to continue to listen to these promises that were never going to be made. The conscious decision to let go of my dad and keep him out of my life for good. That was a pretty good decision for me, so I thought at the time. I didn't speak to my dad after that for about 5 years. I believe 4 or 5 years. And for that amount of time, I had a pretty good childhood. Things were great. Things were good with my family. I was doing really well in school. Everything was good. I used to look at it as a mistake, but now I see it as something that was supposed to happen. A couple months before I graduated from middle school, I bumped into my sister. She was with her mom, and she gave me her contact number, and she gave me my dad's. She said, "You can call me anytime, and Dad would love to speak to you." So I said, okay. I did call my sister later on that day, and we spoke. And I told her the truth as to why I wasn't around anymore. She was curious. She didn't know what was going on. My sister was, I believe, I want to say like 5 or 6 when I stopped coming around. She didn't know why it was happening. She didn't know why she couldn't see her brother and sister anymore. But I thought she was old enough to understand, so I told her the truth. I didn't want to lie to her. I didn't want to make it seem like, oh, you didn't matter to me, so I didn't want her to feel that way. I stayed away for not only the protection of myself and my brother, but also for my sister. I didn't want her to be in the middle of the drama, so I stayed away from her and I didn't talk to her. Even though she was so young, she wouldn't have understood what was going on and what was happening. In turn, that actually backlashed. I believe the next day or 2 days later, my dad went off on me. I called him, wanting to see how he was doing. I built up the courage to talk to my dad. And when I called him, it wasn't the response that I thought I was gonna get. He cursed me out. All of the frustration, the anger, me being upset, mad, sad, all those feelings and all those emotions that I had pushed down and I had stored away for about 4 to 5 years had all come out. Because he was yelling and yelling and I just couldn't take it. I couldn't understand why. But I wasn't gonna let it happen. I wasn't gonna sit there and be a punching bag for my dad. So I started to express myself and I started yelling at him and letting out everything that I was feeling, and before I knew it, he hung up the phone on me. And I remember I had this little phone. I took the phone and I chucked it across my living room. I remember I was home alone. I chucked it across my living room and I just threw myself on the floor crying. I didn't know why my dad felt the way that he did towards me. I didn't know why he was yelling at me. I didn't know why he was so angry at me. I then found out, I forgot how long after, but I found out that my sister, she told my dad what I had told her, telling her the truth as to why I wasn't around anymore, telling her that I didn't trust our dad. I didn't feel like he loved our brother and me. I felt like, he didn't love us. He didn't care about us. He was ashamed of us. And I told her all these things and I told her all these feelings because I wanted her to know why. So I wanted to tell her the truth. She then in return, I guess, went and told my dad, and my dad had a complete and utter fit about it. The thing that I hold most about that, I'm not upset at him for what he did. I was for years. I've let go of that, but I still don't understand is why he hasn't apologized for that. There are a lot of things that he's done that he has not apologized for, and that's what I've held onto for so many years. After that argument, I started to go into a downward spiral. I started to get depressed. I didn't know that I was, but I did. And by the time I graduated, I remember graduation day came, and as I'm walking down that aisle to go and sit down in my seat, all I could tell myself was, I want to go home. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be around anybody. I just wanted to go home. I did not enjoy my graduation at all. So after that, life went on. I had a new family member, which was my nephew. And I was just trying to spend time with him and spend time with my family. High school then started, and it was rocky at first, but I was able to maintain my grades for the most part. But as the school year went on, things started to get even more difficult for me. I wasn't going to school. I wasn't doing my homework. I barely was staying awake in class. I would forget things. Some mornings went to school late because I just couldn't get myself out of bed. I couldn't get myself to do what I needed to do. The things that I normally did that were not even an issue for me before, but they were now. Things started to get even harder with my family. I started lashing out at my mom. I started lashing out at the wrong people. All because of this one person that had a huge impact on my life. Because of this, I had to end up going to therapy. Things did get worse as I got older. I hit 15 and things got a lot worse. I started to mess up even more in school. I was skipping school. I wasn't doing my work at all. I didn't care if I got D's or F's. Not passing any of my exams. Nothing. I ended up in summer school. In high school, I was in summer school 3 times. Because of one person. Now the thing that I'm trying to come across with this, now that you know a little bit of the history, because there is more to it, but if I continue to talk about it, it's going to take hours and hours. But the point of all this is that I let one man, one person affect my life. I was an honor roll and straight A student for as long as I could remember. Ever since I started school. I followed the rules, I did what I was supposed to do. And then this one person walks into my life and I let him mess it up. I've realized the older that I've gotten, the more that stuff doesn't matter. I've realized that the anger that I was holding against him was more so towards me. I was so angry at being angry at him that I didn't let myself feel. I didn't let myself be. I let those things affect me because I could. I wanted people to see that I had feelings too. I was so used to being put on a pedestal, and I was so used to being looked at as the good girl, as the good student, as the good daughter, niece, granddaughter, sister. That nobody took the time to hear me. And one of those people was my dad. He never took the time to sit down and talk to me. He never took the time to see why I felt the way that I did. It was either he yelled at me or he would ignore me. He wouldn't speak to me. He wouldn't call me. He wouldn't text me. Nothing. Like I was just some, person that he could just throw off to the side. And I let that affect me for years. I lost a good portion of my life because of the way that he treated me. But I allowed it. I also let other people influence the way that I thought. What I didn't realize was what mattered to me. How did I see him? Everyone saw him in a different way, but how did I see him? Because at the end of the day, after everything he has done, I've been able to forgive him. I've been able to move past it. Still to this day, I still get backlash about that. That's why it's not a good idea for you to forgive him. But I've realized in order to have peace with him, I need to have peace with myself. In order to have peace overall, I need to forgive him. No, my dad hasn't apologized for anything that he's done to me. No, he hasn't apologized for the things that he said or the things that he hasn't even done. But I can accept an apology that was never given. And I can move on with my life with forgiveness. And that's what I've been learning how to do. My dad isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. But my dad is still my dad. I'm 20 years old now, and I've been able to look past a lot of the stuff that he's done. I'm not going to say that I'm going to sit there and let him take advantage of me again, or let him toy with my emotions. Believe that, now that my daughter is back in my life, or my daughter forgives me, I can continue, or I can start to break promises again, and not talk to her and ignore her, and so on and so forth. No, I'm not going to give my father that power. Because that power that I thought I gave him was within me all along. I let my father think he could control me. And instead, I didn't realize that I needed to control myself. I had a lot of outbursts, getting upset at people when they shouldn't have gotten my backlash. It was the way that I coped. I'm learning from it, and I still make mistakes. I still sometimes go back to that person, that teenage girl that I was, and realize how wrong it is. I'm paying for what I've done to people because of this one person. I've let this one person affect the way that I've seen others. I'm not gonna lie, I have huge trust issues, but that comes with a lot of other stuff that I've dealt with. But the main person that has caused that for me is my dad. And I forgive him for that. What I want you guys to get out of this video is, it's okay to be upset at somebody you love. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to hate them. Because for a really long time, I hated my dad. Deep down, I knew that I loved my dad because that's my dad. But I did hate him for a very long time. Because I wondered why he never noticed my brother and I, and only my sister. Why did he only care for my sister and not me and my brother? It was just how it was, and it's just how he is. I can't change who he is. I can't make him into a father that I want him to be because I realize he never will be. That's not him. I've always wanted that dad that would be there to pick me up when I'm down, wipe my tears, be the first man that shows me how a man is supposed to love me. Yes, I've dreamt of that my entire life. Will I ever get it? Probably not. But it doesn't mean that I wasn't worth any of that. No. I was worth all of that. And I did deserve all of that, but it's just not for me. It's not what God intended for me to have. Any of those things that fathers and daughters do. What compensated for that was my mom being there, having my brothers, having my sisters, spending time with my family, having all those memories of little trips that we went on, Christmases, Thanksgivings, all those things I hold close to my heart. And yeah, it's not the same as spending time with your father, but it's enough. And I'm okay with it all. So I want you guys, if you didn't grow up with your dad or even your mom, just know that you were worth a mother or a father. But it just wasn't for you. Because if you did have your mother or your father, maybe it wouldn't have benefited you. Because God doesn't give us anything we can't handle. And I've learned with not having a father, it's taught me how to be strong. It's taught me how to know my self-worth. It's taught me how to pick the right guy for me. It's taught me how not to have a guy treat me. It's taught me how I should look at myself and how I should perceive myself. But the number one thing that it's taught me is forgiveness. I never knew what forgiveness was before my dad, before he hurt me. And now I do. I know how to forgive people. I know how to let things go. Yeah, it can take a while because it's hard for me to let things go. I can admit that. But what I can say is I've learned how to forgive. And if my dad's in my life, then that's fine. I'll let him. If he's not, then that's okay too. But I will continue to move forward and I will continue to be who I am because nobody will change that. Nobody will take that away from me. Even though I thought someone did, no one will. Only I can take me from me. And I'm not going to do that. So remember, you are worth everything and anything. But sometimes those certain things that you think you want are the things that you don't need. And that's okay. So I can go on and on about this, but I just wanted to let this out, let you guys know that forgiveness is a thing and it's not wrong. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that, people can take advantage of you, and it doesn't mean you're gullible or naive. It just means that you're mature and you're the bigger person. You realize that your happiness matters more than drama and negativity. But I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Share it to anyone you know who may not have their father in their life, or even their mom, or either parent, because I think they need to hear this and realize that they are worth more than they think. They can push forward, and they can move on, and they can be who they want to be. So share that with anyone you know that you'll think would use this video and find it helpful. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to see more videos from me, comment down below any video topics that you would like to see. You know, anything personal, not personal, funny, anything like that, comment that down below. All my social media links are down below in the description bar. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.